Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am so excited to share with you over 5 life-changing crochet and knitting hacks that I've learned over the years. I'm going to show you how to make your granny squares neater, how to do the invisible join method, a simple way to do the magic ring, how to turn a fine yarn into a bulky yarn, and so much more. So let's get started. The first tip that I'm going to show you guys is an alternative magic circle. I know in a lot of my tutorials I say to use a magic circle, and I get a bunch of comments saying magic circles or magic loops, magic ring, whatever you want to call it, they're so difficult and they're really hard to do. So I'm going to show you how to do an alternative one. A lot of you might know already how to do this, but also I am going to show you how to make a magic ring if you do, however, want to use a magic ring instead. I love using a magic ring personally, but for granny squares, I definitely prefer using the alternative method. But first of all, I am going to show you how to do the traditional magic ring, or how I do it. I know there are a lot of different ways that you could definitely do it, but this is just the way that I do it. So I have my blue yarn here. Actually, I'm not sure, because I'm making a granny square. No, I'm actually not going to use my blue yarn. I'm going to use my pinkish yarn. Sorry about that. I'm indecisive. So I'm going to use this pinkish color yarn, and I am going to make a magic circle. So I'm going to show you how I do it. So I have the ball of yarn over here and the short tail over here. You kind of want to make sure that you don't have too short of a tail, but also you don't need like a massive tail. So I'm just going to leave that much, probably just like that much. And I'm going to drape the yarn over my fingers just like this, over these 3 fingers, just like this, the short end here and the ball of yarn over here. So now I'm going to take this part of the yarn that's attached to the ball of yarn, and I'm going to bring it over my 3 fingers, over my 3 fingers of my hand, and cross it over like this to make an X. So we still have the long tail here, the ball of yarn end over here, and the short tail over here. So now I'm going to get my hook. So I'm going to go under this first loop of my X, grab the second loop, and twist my hook. So as you can see, I have it pulled out here. So now I'm going to twist my hook like this to secure the loop in place. Then I'm going to take my first finger and my thumb, hold on to the circle, and then my 3 fingers here, I'm going to take them out of the circle that we just made. And now to attach everything, because if you just let everything go, the whole loop would fall apart. So keep holding on with your thumb and first finger there, and now I'm going to take my middle finger and thumb of my other hand, and I'm going to hold on to my loop, let go of these 2 fingers, and I'm going to go ahead and chain 1, pull this loop out of there, pull that string out of there, and there you have a magic circle that you can easily adjust to whatever size. Very cool. So that is how you make a magic circle. I'm going to go through it one more time just to show you guys again. So I have my short end of my yarn here, long end here, grab my long end, wrap it around my 3 fingers here to make an X on the top of my 3 fingers. Then I'm going to take my hook, go under the first loop of my X, grab that second loop, pull it like that, twist my hook, just like that. And then I'm going to take my first finger and thumb, grab that loop that we made here and the circle, just grab all of that, just so it doesn't fall out. Take out my 3 fingers, then I'm going to just assume the crocheting position, grab all of that, take all this here from my first finger and my thumb, and hold on to it with my middle finger and thumb of the other hand. Wow, chain 1, I couldn't get that. Chain 1, to secure it in place. And then I always take this tail out because mine is always like inside the circle like this, twisted like that. So I always take it out, just like that. And there you have your magic circle. But if you are like me and don't want to use a magic circle for your granny squares, because sometimes if you don't weave in your end well enough, the center of your granny square, where you, like the first row of your granny square where you made the magic circle and then you put all your 4 granny square clusters around it, sometimes if you don't weave it in well enough, that magic circle eventually like falls out. And I had that problem where I crocheted these beautiful granny square pants, but I used a magic circle instead of the alternative method that I'm showing you guys. And literally all of the circles, because I didn't weave it in well enough, all of the middles like fell out, and I had to go back in and like fix it as best as I could, do big old surgery on it, and it was very, very sad and very frustrating, and I don't want you guys to have to do that. So I don't usually, when I'm making a granny square, I do not use a magic circle. I use this method that I'm going to show you right now. So now that I showed you how to make the magic circle, I'm now going to show you how to do the chain 4 method, slip stitch, make a ring. It'll all make sense once I show you. So I'm going to go ahead and make a slip knot. And if you want, I can show you that again, actually, slower. So I got the short end here, long end over here. I'm gonna take the long end and the short end and make a little circle, just like that, for my slip knot. And then I'm gonna take the long end yarn and put it under the circle. So basically we have a circle with a line through it. So then I'm gonna go under that little line, not under the circle, under the line, and then I'm going to pull those 2 ends, just like that. And that's how I make my slip knots. Okay, so now that I have my slip knot on here, I'm going to go ahead and chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could also chain 4. A lot of people chain 4, but I sometimes have a harder time seeing the center of the circle when I only chain 4, so I'm going to go ahead and chain 5. So now I have my little chain of 5 here, and I'm going to go in the first chain that I made and slip stitch into that first chain to make a ring. So as you can see here in the middle, I have my tapestry needle to show you. In the middle right here is the center of our ring. So if you were to make a granny square, you would go ahead and chain 2 and then put your double crochet, your next double crochet into the center of your chain 5 or chain 4 ring. I think that a chain 4 would be good enough. I just, for demonstration purposes, kind of wanted you guys to see that circle better, that center, because you want to make sure that you're going right in the center of the of that ring that you just made. See that little circle that we just made? You want to make sure that you're going into that. So you just go right into that ring with your stitches. And there is the first row of our little granny square here using that chain 4 or chain 5 method. It's just a lot sturdier than the magic circle, in my opinion. And now this leads me into my next set of tips, which a lot of it has to do with granny squares actually. So the next couple tips, the next few tips have to do with granny squares. So the first one is to make very neat granny squares. I use a 1 hook size smaller than the yarn recommends. So here I have this insanely stunning upcycled alpaca silk yarn from Hobbii. It's baby alpaca and mulberry silk, and it calls for a 4.5 millimeter hook, but I am using a 3.5 because honestly it just makes your granny squares look so much neater. So that is my first tip on granny square things. The next one is I am going to join my yarn in one of these 4 corners, and honestly it doesn't matter which. which corner I joined it in, but my next color, which is going to be this darker purple-ish color. So I'm going to join my blue, let's just say in this corner. But for the next round, which will be round 3, I'm going to join my yarn in a different corner. So each row, basically you're going to want to join your yarn in a different corner every single time. Like, don't join it in the same corner every single time. Like, don't join it in this corner every single row for row 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, however many rows you do. Just switch up the corner that you add your yarn into. And the reason that I'm doing this, basically when you join your yarn in a different corner every single row, it helps to stop the twisting. I don't know if anybody who has crocheted a lot of granny squares know what I'm talking about, but sometimes your granny squares don't lay perfectly flat. They sometimes kind of like lean a little bit. And by distributing the spot where you join in your yarn, it kind of combats that twisting that happens, and it helps keep your square nice and straight and perfect. Okay, so here is our cutesy little square so far. So in the last round, I joined in this corner. So now I'm going to go ahead and join in, let's just say, this corner over here. By doing this, we're less likely to create tension in one area that kind of shifts our granny square in, like, makes it go wonky and not in the right shape, of which is of course a square. And we want it to be as perfectly square as possible. And my next tip that also has to do with granny squares, a lot of granny square patterns, they say to chain 1 when you're going over to the side, and I do not chain anything. And now I'm going into my side space here, but I'm not chaining anything. I'm just going directly into that space with my 3 granny square cluster. I'm not chaining anything. So no chains in between. So usually a lot of granny square patterns say to chain 1 and then go into your corner or your next spot, but I do not chain in between. I just go directly into my next space, and then of course we're in a corner space, so we do have to do our chains for our corner. So the 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, and then we've reached our next side space, which of course I'm just going directly into, and I'm not going to chain 1. I'm going directly into the corner space and not chaining 1, just doing my corner of 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. So the next tip is I don't chain 1 at all on the sides. I just go directly into the space. Okay, so now I'm joining in my next color here. And since in the last round I joined in this corner, I'm going to just pick a different corner to join in my next color. Okay, so this is what my square is looking like right now, and I'm just going to do my last row with this charcoal color, and then I'm going to show you my next hack. Okay, so my next hack is actually showing you guys how to do an invisible join, which I can now, as I'm going with the charcoal, I realize how hard it's going to be for you guys to see with a dark yarn. So I'm just going to continue on with that, my last row in a minute, after I show you guys with this very nice light butter color, how to do the invisible join. If it was like the outer edge of the square, it just doesn't look as neat, and basically I just really want to have the neatest granny square possible. So to fix this, see, it just doesn't look very neat. So to fix this, I'm going to do what's called an invisible join, and you can use this technique with like any type of square, anything that works in the round, like circles, anything. It's not just with granny squares. You don't have to just use this technique with granny squares. So I'm just taking this apart real quick. Let's just pretend this is the final row of our square. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to not slip stitch. I'm not going to slip stitch. So I have no chains, no nothing. I just completed my 3 double crochets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pull out my hook just like that. And now I'm going to grab my tapestry needle here. Here I have this nice tapestry needle with a little bit of a upwards hook situation. This is my favorite tapestry needle ever. So I'm just going to attach my tapestry needle to my yarn tail here. Of course, I already cut mine, but you're going to want to cut your yarn. Probably leave yourself a longer tail than I did. So now that our tapestry needle is attached, we are going to go into, as you can see, we have our first little cluster here with our chain 2 and our 2 double crochets. I'm going to insert my tapestry needle through the top V stitches here of that first double crochet that we made. I know that chain 2 technically counts as a double crochet, but we're not going to go into that one because it just doesn't work. So we're not going to go into that one. We're going to go into the first double crochet of our little cluster here, of our first cluster of this round. So I'm going to go under both loops of that V stitch, just like that, and pull my yarn through. Just like that. And then, as you can see, we have our little cluster of 3 double crochets here. I am going to go in, as you can see, we have our 2 V stitches. I am going to go through the back loop here with my tapestry needle. Just like that, only the back loop, and pull my yarn through to essentially create this fake V stitch here. So now, as you can see, look at that. It is perfectly seamless. There's no awkward chain 1, cut your yarn lump there. There is a perfectly lovely V stitch, and that is how you do the invisible join, but you're going to want to weave your end in extremely, extremely well. So like go back and forth a bunch of times just to make sure it's nice and secure. So I'm going back and forth like a bajillion times. So I'm serious, like go back and forth a lot to make sure it's nice and secure. So as you can see, I went back and forth a bunch of times. It's very nice and secure, but as you can see, it's a very nice, seamless, invisible join. It essentially creates a fake V-stitch, so it looks very cohesive and nice all the way around. And that is how you do the invisible join. Here I have 2 circles. I'm just showing you an example of the invisible join with a circle. So here I have one that I did not use the invisible join. I just used the chain 1, cut your yarn, pull out your hook method. As you can see, it has a strange little lump here from our chain 1. So it doesn't look like a perfectly round circle like you would want. And then over here we have the circle that I did the invisible join method with, and it looks very, very nice and cohesive all the way around. So here's a closer look. Again, we have this awkward little lump here when we didn't use the invisible join method, but with this one we have a nice cohesive circle all the way around. I'll insert some more videos of other circles I've used with the invisible join and how nice and seamless they look. Just make sure that you're not pulling your yarn too tightly and that your V-stitch matches the rest of the V-stitch in the round, just so everything looks nice and cohesive. So I just wanted to show you what the invisible join looks like with a circle. It just looks so much better to use this method. Okay, so here is my nice and neat granny square. She's looking very good. A lot of you know about blocking. I recommend blocking every single piece that you make, every single sweater, every single square, everything. Blocking is the essential part of crocheting and knitting. If you don't do blocking, this is your sign. Please start blocking your pieces. It's absolutely essential. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab my blocking boards and my pegs real fast and show you what I do to block my granny squares. Okay, so I have my blocking board here. My husband actually made this. It's so beautiful. I want him to make these to sell for you guys, but he's a very busy man. He is working construction and he's always very busy. He's a carpenter, so very busy man. But anyway, I have my metal pegs here. So I'm just gonna lay my square out. Ideally, you'll wanna weave in your ends before you do all of this, but I really don't feel like weaving in my ends, honestly, so I'm just gonna, let's just ignore that they're there. Let's just ignore them. So let me measure my square here. It is a 3-inch, of course, by 3-inch because it's a square. I don't know why I had to measure the other side. So I'm just going to count how many pegs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So then I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this peg right here, we're going to pull our square to because we want it to be, you know, 7, 7, 7, 7 all the way around. So 1, 2, 3. I have to move my hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is the peg we want to go in right here. Okay, so here's my square, what she's looking like. Very, very nice. I'm not just gonna leave it like this. If I were to be doing a whole project, I would spray it with my spray bottle. I would just give it a couple good sprays, but I'm not gonna do that right now because this is a paper backdrop and I don't want to get it wet. So you just go ahead and spray it, and then I usually leave mine for quite some time, just for like 24 to 48 hours. Then I go ahead and pop it up and I have a nice perfect square. Honestly, at the moment it's pretty square due to all of the hacks that we used. It's honestly a fairly square in and of itself, but I like to block everything. So I recommend it, of course. Okay, so here is our square. Honestly, for not being blocked at all, she's pretty square. She's pretty uniform. She's laying nice and flat. She's not leaning at all. She's cute. She's perfect. So one more thing to note, I used a 3.5mm hook as I mentioned. So of course, this square is a lot smaller. I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. And if I were to have used the 4.5mm hook, this square would have come out, I would say, an inch bigger, at least, I would think. So that's one thing to keep in mind if you're like, I just don't want to do 5 rows and it's an inch shorter, like you just kind of want to have less time crocheting and you want it to go by faster, then just go ahead and use your bigger hook. Doing the other hacks should make it look nice and neat. I just like how the stitches look with a smaller hook, and I really like it. It's like very flowy and drapey. I guess it also depends, of course, on the yarn that you use, which I will go into also. For my next trick, I'm going to show you guys how to turn a thin yarn like this into a bulky yarn. If you were to be making a scrap yarn sweater and you had mostly worsted weight yarns and bulky yarns, but you also had a couple random skeins of some thin yarn like this, and you're like, I really want to use that up in this sweater, but you only have one skein and you don't have 2 or 3 that you can use multiple strands from different skeins. So I'm going to show you how to easily make one little tiny strand of yarn like this into 3 strands with only 1 cake. A very easy way that you could make this nice thin yarn here into a, like, let's just say a DK weight yarn, you can pull from the center. You can do a center pull. And you could also do an outer edge, pull from the outer edge. So you can take the outer edge piece and the center piece, and then you would have the 2 strands. And there's what it looks like with the 5mm hook, which would be like, this is like a, honestly the 2 doubled up is like a worsted weight yarn, like a size 4, I would say. So yeah, probably like a 5, 5.5 or so for like your hook size. Also, I grabbed my knitting needles. I might just show you right now a little knit swatch doing this method real quick. Let me just cast on some stitches real fast. Okay, so this works really nice when knitting. You just want to make sure that you don't just grab the one loop. You want to make sure you grab both loops, because I accidentally was just grabbing one. You want to make sure that you grab both loops of the stitch, seeing as we doubled it up, so there's two. So that's just my only thing, just to make sure that you grab both of them. So yeah, that's what it looks like knit. Very nice as well. But if you want something that is bulkier, I'm going to show you how you can take this one skein of yarn and this one strand of yarn here from the center pole and turn it into 3. So I'm going to start off by making a very large S. As you can see, we have our S shape here. And now I'm going to take my hand and pull from the middle of the S here, pull all these strands of yarn here from the middle of my S, and I'm going to make a slip knot. And now, as you can see, I have 3 strands of yarn. So I'm going to chain, but uh-oh, I ran out. Never fear. So as you can see, we have our loop here that is draped over the tail of our yarn, the long tail that's attached to our skein. So what you're going to do is you're going to pull that tail, you're going to tug on it through the loop. So then you again have 3 strands of yarn. So then you go ahead and keep on chaining until you run into that loop again, which I've run into the loop again. As you can see, the loop is draped over the tail. So you're going to again pull that tail through the loop so that you again have 3 strands of yarn. And you're just going to keep on repeating this process for however long your row is or however big your project is, and just keep on tugging your loop through. So you consistently and continually have 3 strands of yarn to make a very nice and thick, bulky yarn out of a thin weight yarn. And of course, I also chose a bigger hook size. I have a 6mm hook here. So there you go. As you can see, nice and thick with only 1 skein. I can imagine how well this method is going to work on a scrap sweater. It will be honestly revolutionary for me because I have so much scrap yarn. It's honestly intimidating. And it also unravels fairly easily, but what I would recommend is going nice and slow always. When you are frogging something, it does frog well, I would say, if you go nice and slow. So take your time. Okay, so my next tip is for sometimes if you have a project that you want to make, let's just say you wanted to make like a fairy core themed sweater or project, something that's like more fairy themed, and you're kind of unsure of which colors to choose, I recommend heading to Pinterest. Okay, so I searched fairy color palette, and as you can see, so many beautiful options came up with these deep colors with the greens, the pinks, the greens, mossy flowers, things like that. Even just these beautiful colors together. Pinterest just gives this beautiful array of so many different aesthetics and vibes, even just in general. So I have a board color palette inspiration that I just created just to show you guys. As you can see, just so many different types. This is the forest nymph color palette. Just so many different inspiring palettes here. Just these blues and greens as well. Just like colors taken from like this painting. And look at from this garlic. The colors from this garlic, that's literally so pretty. And if I wanted to make like, let's just say like a 70s themed top or sweater or a cardigan, something, you can just search 70s color palette and get so many great ideas. Of course, the iconic oranges and browns of the 70s. As you can see, they pulled some colors from her shirt here to get some really good 70s vibes going. This is a warm toned, groovy 70s color palette, but honestly, the options are unlimited. So if you want to make like a 70s themed dress, crochet, knit, whatever, you can easily just search 70s color palette. You can search whimsigoth color palette or whatever your aesthetic is, or just search in general color palette inspiration, and you should be able to find some really, really nice inspiration. And just even these colors too, that would make such a beautiful sweater or dress. There's so many options on here. Very springy. So if you're stuck on what colors to choose for your next projects, just go over to Pinterest. A question that I get asked a lot is, what yarn do you choose for your projects? And I'm just gonna give you some just tips, just layout basically, what yarns that I choose for my projects and what my favorite fibers are and things like that. Just give you some insight, tips, tricks on which yarns to pick based on your project or based on your level of crocheting, things like that, or knitting. So first up, we have a 100% acrylic yarn. And for beginners, acrylic yarn is usually what people who are just starting out in crochet or knitting, it's usually what people are drawn to because of its affordability. It's also vegan, but it is not biodegradable, which I, as someone who tries to practice sustainability as much as possible, that is a big con for me. It is also less breathable in comparison to the other fibers like plant fibers and animal fibers, which makes it not an ideal fiber for summer or spring projects, but it does keep you warm technically if you wanted to make a sweater for the winter. It's also very easy to wash and take care of. You can just wash it with all your other clothes. So that is a pro for acrylic yarn. I have this yarn from Hobbii. It is Twister Solid. As most of you know, I love Twister Solid XL, that line from Hobbii, and it is half cotton, half acrylic. A 100% cotton yarn is so versatile. You can use it for wearables, home decor, kitchen items, washcloths, coasters, placemats, rugs, blankets, a sweater, nice, airy, summery things. Cotton though is a heavier yarn, so if I were to make like a nice airy cardigan with cotton yarn, 100% cotton, I would choose like a size 1 or a size 2. It's also relatively inexpensive as well, which makes it nice for beginners. It's machine washable, it's durable, it's strong, it's extremely breathable and comfortable for summer projects and so many different things. There are some cons to using cotton yarn though. It lacks memory, which basically means that especially with cotton yarn wearables, over time the piece is going to sag, it's going to stretch out quite a bit. Also, it is a much stiffer yarn, so it definitely strains your hands when you are knitting with it or crocheting with it. I have never actually knit with a cotton yarn, but I have heard terrible things about it, so I'm actually nervous to do so. This purple yarn here is a 50-50 cotton and linen blend, and linen is known for being an extremely moisture-wicking, breathable, ideal for warm weather wearables. So if you're looking to make a beautiful, drapey, summery type of wearable, linen is the thing for you. This yarn right here is a 100% Highland wool yarn, and there are so many different types of wool. Some wools can be slightly scratchy, whereas merino wool is extremely, extremely soft and luxurious and so smooth and perfect for sweaters, and honestly is one of the most, I think, the most ideal fiber for sweaters or anything, honestly, wearables in general. Highland wool is extremely warm, so you can make a really, really nice sweater for the winter for this, but also it is very breathable at the same time, so you can technically make something for the summer or warmer months or warmer climates with this as well, and it will be very nice and breathable and comfortable. So if you want to make a sweater for the winter, it keeps you warm, but if you want to make a nice, airy, breathable cardigan for the summer, it keeps you cool. It's kind of magical. Also, remember how I was talking about cotton yarn and that it has no memory at all? Well, wool has a very great memory, which means that it's going to retain its shape over time, which makes it my number one yarn choice. I usually typically gravitate towards merino wool because it is so soft and I have sensitive skin. It is the softest type of wool. Merino wool is incredible. The cost of wool yarn honestly varies so intensely. A lot of wool yarn is more expensive typically, especially like a hand-dyed merino wool, but it's so beautiful, and honestly, it's such good quality that your piece is going to last for so much longer than if you chose just a cheaper acrylic yarn. So for that, I think it's worth it. Next up is alpaca yarn. This yarn is an alpaca silk blend. It is literally incredibly soft. Alpaca yarn is just known to be so soft and so smooth and so gentle on the skin, and paired with a silk blend, it's a silk and alpaca blend, which means it is literally the butteriest, softest yarn you will ever touch. It is ideal for anyone who has sensitive skin. It's also hypoallergenic. It's really nice for making baby blankets. But a downside to alpaca yarn, though, it doesn't have much memory. Again, just kind of like cotton. It does have more memory, I believe, than cotton does, but that is just one thing to take into consideration. Because of how nice and luxurious this yarn is, it's usually more on the expensive side, but it is so soft and it is perfect for people with sensitive skin, even babies if you want to make like a little baby sweater or a baby blanket. It's such an incredible choice for that. It also, again, though, doesn't have as much memory as a wool does. It has fantastic drape, it's durable, it's strong, it is so soft. There are just so many good things I have to say about it. So these are just the fibers that I most commonly gravitate towards. There are, of course, so many more out there, but I use mostly alpacas, wools, cotton linen blends, and cotton and acrylic blends because I don't usually commonly use a 100% cotton yarn. I usually pair it with something like an acrylic or a linen, but I hope all that information was somewhat helpful to you for what yarn you're going to choose for your next project. Usually, typically, for summery projects, I choose cotton or linen. For sweaters, I will grab alpaca or wool, a wool variety that is not scratchy, of course. For home decor or kitchen items, I always grab cotton yarn, but it's honestly so helpful when you learn about all the different types of yarns and what they're good for. Like if you were to pick cotton yarn for your next winter sweater, it would not be very warm. Cotton and linen are intended for usually more breathable, airy, moisture-wicking, summery, spring, warm climate projects. But cotton yarn is the ideal choice for kitchen items. Like if you were to pick an alpaca or a acrylic yarn for a kitchen item like a dishcloth or a placemat or something like that, it just wouldn't do the intended job that cotton can do because cotton is so durable and absorbent, and it's also machine washable and can withstand high heat temperatures, which you can make potentially a pot holder with a cotton yarn. But if you made it with an acrylic could potentially melt. So it's very helpful to know what all of these specific yarns are good for. And wool, it's so nice and soft, and it also has that great memory, so it will withstand the test of time. Linen is also another one that will withstand the test of time. It could potentially last for so incredibly long if you take such good care of it. It's such a strong yarn. But there are just so many different pros and cons to each type of yarn. But for a sweater, I'll grab wool, a nice soft and non-scratchy wool. For kitchen items, I'll grab cotton. If I want something that's super soft, I'll grab alpaca yarn. There's honestly just so much that I could say about all the different types of yarn, but I will stop yapping on and on and on about them because I could potentially keep on going for quite a while. For time's sake, I am going to say goodbye to you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in a part 2 or just for me to keep rambling on about yarn types and all of that and how things are made, I just have so much of an interest in it. But if you're interested in a part 2 or if you like this video, let me know in the comments. I will have hopefully a tutorial coming out very soon. Life has just been absolutely insane for me lately. I've just been kind of behind on all of that, but I'm hoping to get back into vlogs and tutorials more regularly. I really hope you guys like this video. If you do, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye guys, love ya.